Welcome to This Explainer. Today we are diving into a highly tactical, incredibly delicious mission I recently came across. We're talking about engineering the absolute perfect, state fair quality deep-fried cookie. According to this protocol, achieving that literal holy grail, the shatterproof crust on the outside and that warm, molten core on the inside, actually requires some surprisingly strict science. It's not just dropping a cookie in oil, it's a real operation.
All right, let's just quickly run through the mission briefing. We've got 6 precise phases to execute today. The objective, Protocol Alpha, Protocol Beta, Protocol Gamma, Protocol Delta, and we'll wrap up with the Red Team report.
Phase 1. The objective. Scientific parameters of a fried cookie.
So, what are we actually trying to do here? Well, to engineer the perfect deep-fried cookie, the protocol breaks it down in purely scientific terms. We are looking for the successful encapsulation of a rigid carbohydrate in a high-adhesion leavened batter. When this little package hits the intense heat, 2 absolutely beautiful reactions happen. The extreme heat flash fries that outer envelope, turning it into a shatterproof crust, while the residual thermal energy penetrates straight to the core. This melts the cream and chemically softens the cookie matrix itself into this warm, cake-like interior. It's like magic, but it's chemistry.
Phase 2. Protocol Alpha. Matrix selection and stabilization.
Believe it or not, you can't just toss any old cookie into the fryer. We have what the protocol calls hard candidates. Think classic Oreos or Nutter Butters. These are ideal. They have this optimal structural density, meaning they'll absorb moisture from the batter during the fry and soften up beautifully. But then you have soft candidates, like chewy cookies or those soft oatmeal pies. These have high ambient moisture right out of the package. If you try frying them at room temp, they will completely disintegrate into a messy sludge. To survive the process, they require a mandatory 1 to 2 hour cryogenic freeze before we even start.
Now, regardless of the specific cookie matrix you choose, there is a mandatory prep step across the board. The cookies absolutely must go in the fridge for at least 30 minutes prior to frying. Why? It stabilizes the lipid-based cream centers. If those centers are too warm going in, they'll liquefy way too fast and literally breach the protective batter wall from the inside out. And we want total containment here, fucks.
Phase 3. Protocol Beta, the high-adhesion envelope.
This is where we build the armor. To properly coat a flat, smooth cookie, the batter architecture has to be flawlessly calibrated. It needs to be exceptionally viscous, like just slightly thicker than your standard Sunday morning pancake batter. The dry base is pretty standard. All-purpose flour, sugar, salt. But crucially, you need double-acting baking powder for structural lift. That gets combined with a wet emulsion of whole milk, a binding egg, and a hit of vanilla extract to nail that perfect aromatic profile.
The synthesis process seems simple enough, right? Whisk the dry stuff, whisk the wet stuff separately, and then combine them. But hold on, here is the absolute most dangerous part of the entire protocol. You whisk until it is just combined. You know how you usually try to get all the lumps out? Yeah, scratch that. Lumps are totally acceptable here. In fact, the text explicitly warns that over-whisking overdevelops the gluten network. Do that, and you end up with a catastrophic, tough, chewy crust instead of the light, crisp shell we're looking for.
Phase 4. Protocol Gamma, thermodynamic application. Things are getting real now.
Before a single cookie enters the oil, the protocol insists, and I mean insists, on establishing a strict thermal baseline. Using a heavy-bottom Dutch oven or a proper deep fryer, you need about 3 inches of neutral oil heated to precisely 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. The source makes it crystal clear. Guessing is not an option. You absolutely have to use a thermometer to hit this exact temperature. It's the only way to achieve that rapid flash fry effect without totally dissolving the cookie in a pool of grease.
Okay, here's the exact timeline for the thermodynamic application. It's a precise dance. First, the dip. The chilled cookie is completely submerged, lifted out, and you let the excess batter drip off for exactly 2 seconds until it's obscured by a thick white coat. Next, the submersion. You must fry in small batches. If you overcrowd the pot, it causes a catastrophic drop in oil temperature. Finally, the turn. After roughly 90 seconds, when that underside achieves a deep, gorgeous, golden brown Maillard reaction, they get flipped. Phase 5. Protocol Delta. Extraction and garnish.
So, there is a golden rule of extraction noted here, and it's delivered with total gravity. Never place them directly on paper towels. It's a massive rookie mistake. Think about it. Pulling a 375-degree cookie out of hot oil releases a massive amount of steam.
If you set that directly on a paper towel, the steam condenses right back against the paper and instantly ruins that perfectly engineered crisp bottom crust. They must immediately go onto a wire cooling rack.
Once they're safely on the wire rack, the protocol calls for the finish. You want to give them an aggressive dusting of powdered sugar immediately while the lipids on the crust are still piping hot and shimmering. Applying it right away ensures optimal adhesion, basically locking the sweetness right into the microscopic crevices of the crust.
Phase 6, the red team report, counter-analysis. Now, the source also plays devil's advocate for a minute and looks at a very common shortcut, boxed pancake mix. Is it viable? Well, using a boxed mix is highly efficient, and honestly, it's chemically sound, since it already contains all those commercial leaveners and stabilizers. But culinary purists argue strongly against it. They point out that commercial mixes almost always contain artificial flavors that subtly, but noticeably, clash with the pure vanilla and chocolate profile of a cookie like an Oreo. So while it's structurally sound, for the absolute ultimate flavor match, From Scratch wins, hands down. Let's talk numbers really quick. The caloric load of a single deep-fried cookie, factoring in the batter and the absorbed oil, sits right around 150 to 180 calories. It is abundantly clear that this protocol completely ignores macronutrients and instead prioritizes texture, flavor, and maximum unfiltered indulgence above all else.
Which leads us to the final thought. We've broken down the structural chemistry, the volatile thermodynamics, and the precise timing. So, is the ultimate state-fair indulgence worth the high-stakes culinary engineering required to pull it off perfectly? Honestly, I'll let you decide when you set up your own kitchen laboratory. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, happy frying!